Welcome to the Survivor to Thriver show with your happiness expert, Samia Bano. Are you a survivor of abuse or other trauma? Are you tired of feeling stuck, silent, and stressed all the time? This is the podcast people from all over the world join in to learn exactly how to stop suffering and start living with more inner peace and joy. Are you ready to eliminate suffering from your life and transform from a survivor to thriver? Then congratulations, you are in the right place. Let's get started. Hey, welcome back to the Survivor to Thriver show with me, your host and happiness expert, Samia Bano. The last episode, I promised you I would tell you more about my experience going through a women's self-defense class. Now, I need to really backtrack a little bit into the history of what was happening with me and why I took that class in the first place. And then I will share with you how it helped me. One of the major breakthroughs that I experienced was as a result of taking that class. So basically, I was in college, and I was, one of my goals in college was to learn everything that I could about how to help myself heal and move forward in my life, and not just learn it, but apply that learning in my life, right? And so I was, dedicated to being a psychology major. But once I got into college, I will say that this is one of the things that I personally really appreciate about the way the American college system is set up, is that the first half of your college experience, like if you're a normal student, you're supposed to get through your college in 4 years, right? So the first half of that experience, meaning the first 2 years, you're really, no matter what major you decide you're going to be, you need to take a variety of general education classes as a part of the requirement for your graduation and for you to get your degree. And so, of course, I had already committed to being a psychology major, and I was taking all the classes that I needed to for the major and, to graduate as that. But one of the really awesome things that happened for me very early on, actually my very first semester of going into starting college, Santa Monica College, was when I went through my orientation at the college. So this was a community college, right? And with the community college, the way it works is that you do your first 2 years of college at the community college, and it's just a 2-year college. And this is where you sort of focus on your general education classes, and then you transfer to a 4-year university to finish the last 2 years of your college degree. And at your 4-year university, that's where you will, really focus on your major classes, whatever is the major of your choice. In my case, that would be psychology. So at Santa Monica College, I was, of course, going to take some psychology classes that were going to be required for me to transfer to the 4-year university, and that are like prerequisites for any psychology major. But at the same time, I had to take other general education classes. And my orientation counselor said to me, said to us, I was in a group, at this orientation, and our orientation counselor said, okay, look, whatever major you choose, you're going to do those classes anyway. but you also have the opportunity to choose your own electives. Like you have a wide variety of other general education classes that you can choose from, that you also need to take to fulfill the other requirements of your general education. So she said, a temptation that people oftentimes have is to stick, when they're choosing their other general education classes, is to stick very close to their major and stick very close to their primary areas of interest and just take the classes in there, right? But she said, and this was actually the counselor, she was a peer counselor, she was a student herself, and she was like, this is something I'm sharing from my own personal experience, and it has greatly enriched my college experience and my life, and I highly recommend that you also try this on. That as you are choosing your classes, your general education classes, don't just stick to the classes that are in your major or close to your major. Like really explore different subject areas, things that you don't know anything about. Try those classes, try learning those subjects, because usually we like what we know. So the more you know, the more likely it is that you will find more and more things that you like and that you love. And there was just something about that message that really resonated with me, and I was like, okay, that sounds like really cool advice, I'm going to do that. So when so every semester when it came time for me to pick my classes, I made sure to look very carefully through the entire schedule of classes and like read through descriptions of classes in all kinds of different subject areas, and I challenged myself to take classes in different subject areas. And one semester well, it wasn't just one semester. I actually, from the very first semester, I kind of noticed that under the physical education department, one of the classes that they offered was a women's self-defense class. But I kind of avoided taking it for a while because I was kind of not sure. Like, I've never been very physically active, and I was like concerned that they would make us fight and punch and kick, and I was like, I don't know, that's not really my kind of thing. And I was just kind of scared also of because I I wear the traditional headscarf and I wear full sleeves, and I believe I need to wear loose clothing and things like that. And I was like, I don't know if I'll even fit into that that kind of environment of a self-defense class. They'll probably want us to wear tight clothes, and they might want me to take off my headscarf. And I was just making all these excuses, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. For some reason, every semester, I looked at it and it was 8 o'clock in the morning. I was like, why? I hate that early, I'm not a morning person, and I did everything I could to avoid taking such early morning classes. So I just was going through this process of making all these excuses to not do it. And then one semester, this was my second year in college already at Santa Monica, and I was like, okay, well, my gosh, okay, the truth of the matter is that all these excuses are just that, they're excuses. The fact is that I'm scared to take this class because I have this fear of I had a sense of huge disempowerment around being able to use my own body to protect myself. And I never really hit anyone in my life. I never been really physically active, and so, I had like this fear and this sense of anxiety, and I got to this point in my second year. It was actually the spring semester of my second year at Santa Monica College, and I was like, I have to just get over this. I need to take this class. I need to face this fear. Okay, so I just went ahead and I enrolled in that class, and boy, am I glad that I did. Whew! Like, it wasn't easy to get through, but it was so worth it. It was so worth it. It was just so worth it. Like, one of the most amazing things that I appreciated about that class was that our teacher, his name was Marshall, and Professor Marshall, as I called him, he didn't just focus on the physical aspects of self-defense. Yes, he got us, training to become more physically fit, and he taught us how to kick and punch, and he taught us a lot of different physical techniques for how to protect ourselves, both offensively and defensively. But I'm so thankful to him that he incorporated so much more into the class. He addressed and taught us like mental and emotional self-defense as well. And one of the most important lessons that he taught us that really resonated with me was that he said 90% of effective self-defense is in our minds, and only 10% is in the physical techniques that we learn. It's like somebody who is a master, in terms of knowing the physical techniques, but they don't have the right kind of mindset. They will lose their fights. And if you reverse the situation and you take somebody who has the right kind of mindset, but they're not trained in the physical techniques, they can still win. This person with the right mindset has a greater chance and is much more likely, and is actually very likely, to win these fights for self-defense, for survival. Because it's really the mindset that makes the difference. It's 90% of success is in the mindset when you are in a fight for your life, for your survival, for defending yourself, And so he actually spent a lot of time in our class drilling us in developing the right mindset. And one of those aspects of the mindset was this idea of using our voice. So he would be like, okay, look, if you are in a fight for your life, for your survival, you've been attacked, you have to defend yourself, don't suffer it in silence. Don't go through that process in silence for two very important reasons. One, if you vocalize, you shout, you make sounds, you vocalize as you are engaging in the fight, it forces you to keep breathing, right? Because for most of us, when we are in a situation of high stress and tension and so forth, it's very natural for us to sort of like, just kind of freeze up and stop breathing, or begin to breathe very in a very shallow kind of way, and that'll actually make you very tired very quickly and lose your focus and all kinds of negative impact. So by keeping things vocal, you make sure that you keep breathing. And the other thing that's equally important from a perspective of I'm fighting for my life, for my survival, is that if you're making noise, and you're not being silent as you fight, you increase the chances that other people may hear what's going on and come to your aid or ring the alarm, versus if you're taking it all in silence, no one can hear you and no one can come to your help. And my gosh, this was like a huge lesson, because remember what happened, like when I was a child and when I was being sexually abused, what had happened to me was I had frozen and I had not even been able to speak up. Like I had remained silent even in those moments. And so when I was in class and my professor and Professor Marshall would be like, vocalize, shout, make a noise, make a sound, I found it to be so challenging. And it was like one of the biggest breakthroughs that I had to work on, is to learn how to vocalize. So it was another context in which I had to practice using my voice, practice vocalizing. And, in order for us to successfully complete the class and graduate and pass the class, our final exam was our professor, and he brought in two other instructors, and they all got padded up, and then they basically attacked us for the final exam. And they were like, you need to hit us, and hit us hard, and use everything that we have taught you to get yourself out and away from us. Because if you don't hit hard, if you don't use the techniques that we taught you correctly and stuff, we are not going to let you go. And in my case, because this was a 16-week long class, and because I'd been with Professor Marshall for 16 weeks, and he knew I had this challenge with my voice, he told me very clearly that, Samia, if you do not also vocalize as you are, going through this final, I'm not going to let you go. Your final is not going to come to an end until, along with an effective demonstration of the techniques at a physical level, you also use your voice. And guess what the scenario was? Like, for each one of us, we were given a scenario for our final exam. And my scenario, I didn't know he was going to do this. And by the way, I had not told him about me being a survivor of sexual abuse, and I'd certainly not told him the context in which it had happened. So it was like, my gosh, it was like literally my worst nightmares come alive for my final class, because the scenario he put me in was, he was like, okay, Samia, you're on the floor and you're sleeping in your bed and you're going to get attacked. And you have to get out of that. And it was like literally my worst nightmare coming to life. And, but you know what? This is where the breakthrough happened. That this time, when I was in that bed, pretend bed, and then somebody came to hurt me, I got myself out of that. I literally kicked butt in that scenario, and I got myself out of it. I used my hands and my feet and my voice and every part of my body and my being to protect myself and save myself and get out of it. And I protected myself. And it was such an empowering experience, such a huge, huge breakthrough. And, wow. Thinking about it even now, it's just this, amazing. Like, I'm still so thankful, even now when I think back to that time, that moment, that I was able to have that experience. Because after that, like, I actually used to have nightmares where the memories of the abuse, would come up again and again in my nightmares, and they were one of those things that kept the sense of pain and suffering alive for me, those nightmares. And after I went through the class, and after I finished through this final, the most amazing thing happened was that the nightmares transformed into empowering dreams. And now, like, I had this experience not once but multiple times where the nightmare would start just like it used to, but at that critical point, just like what happened in the final, I turned it around and I protected myself and I acted. And so the nightmares literally turned into an empowering dream. It was just so amazing. So, like, literally I started kicking butt in my dreams. And I was like, yes, I can protect myself. I can protect myself. And not just, it gave me a new recognition and sense of empowerment, not only in the context of, okay, I'm mentally and emotionally strong enough and able to protect myself, but I'm also physically strong enough and capable of taking care of myself. So just huge breakthrough. So, hey, you know what? If you are a survivor or know somebody who has, this could be something that you may want to look into for yourself as well. Taking some classes in self-defense, getting some training in self-defense so that, you can regain that sense of confidence in yourself, your ability to protect yourself physically as well as mentally and emotionally. But just be careful that you have given yourself enough time to heal, that you don't end up in a major crisis if something like this happens when you are in your self-defense class. And I can tell you that it's not uncommon. I have actually, one of the things that I did after I graduated college was I trained to become an instructor of self-defense. So I am actually an instructor and I teach women self-defense now. And it's awesome. I love the teaching, but because I specialize in working with survivors of abuse and other trauma, oftentimes it's not uncommon that I'll get people in my classes who, have been abused and who have been attacked and victimized. And unfortunately for them, the memory of it is still too fresh, to be quite honest, for them to be able to successfully manage their emotions and just deal with. They become triggered and re-triggered being in the class, and they're not able to go through it. So you need to make sure that you have given yourself enough time and space and the healing process that when you choose to go to the class, that you are able to actually kind of handle it. And you may not know whether you're ready to handle it or not until you actually go to the class and try it out. So, but in general, just check in with yourself And if you feel like you can do it, or you're ready to do it, or you're ready to give it a try, go ahead and do it. And you know what? If you find when you go there that it's not time yet, that's fine too. You can go back again at a later time when you feel more ready. So, wow, I've gone way over my intended time, but that's okay. That's okay. Sometimes it happens. So, all right. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up right here for today. And I will see you in the next episode. And until then, as always, I wish you lots and lots of peace and joy. And I want to remind you to please connect with me, because I love to hear from you. I love to get your feedback and your comments. So go to the academyofthriving.com, and from our contact us page, you can choose your preferred method of connecting with me. All right. See you tomorrow.